Welcome back. Eskom says stage 4 load shedding will now continue until 5 o'clock tomorrow morning. The escalation in power cuts has been attributed to breakdowns and depleted emergency reserves. Eskom also saying it's run out of money to buy diesel. Meanwhile, the energy expert Adil Chabaleng says it's shocking that Eskom uses as much diesel as it does. He's also questioning new funds being made available by the Treasury. Joined now by Clyde Mallinson, an energy analyst. Clyde, good afternoon to you. When Eskom says the reason that we have such intense load shedding is because we've literally run out of money to buy diesel, we know that diesel is expensive, but they've literally run out of money. That really shows us the position that we're in and the financial position that Eskom is in.
Yes, afternoon, Stephen. Absolutely. You know, Eskom have been spending money on diesel for a long time now, and they generally overspend. And when they then go to NERSA looking to claw back the overspend, NERSA are normally quite harsh on Eskom and say, gee, it wasn't prudent that you spent as much money on diesel. Why didn't you get more energy out of your coal fleet? And it doesn't matter how often Eskom tell NERSA that the coal fleet's, unreliable, clapped out, as it were, and that they believed it was prudent to burn diesel to stave off load shedding. We're in a situation now where Eskom appears to be close to bankrupt when it comes to diesel purchases, at least. And they're saying, well, we can't afford the R5.57 or whatever it costs per kilowatt hour. So the economy must take the R87.85 lost economic sort of activity on the chin, and that's just how it is. We'll basically opt for load shedding rather than burning diesel, not because we don't want to, but because we just simply don't have the money for it.
There are many different elements to this. We've got municipalities that owe Eskom at least 51 billion rand. We've got other issues around people who don't necessarily pay for all the services that they receive. But how much to blame do you think NERSA is here? Now, NERSA is under pressure too, because people will shout at them if they allow Eskom to really increase its power prices. But should NERSA be listening a bit more to Eskom than it has been?
Look, I would rather take the discussion away from the interplay between NERSA and Eskom. It's normally fairly, I don't want to use the word acrimonious, but Eskom always asks for X, and NERSA say we'll give you a quarter X, and then they settle on a half X kind of thing. The real culprits here are the department that's been responsible for the installation of new generation capacity, and that falls outside of Eskom's ambit. And we've been dithering on putting in replacement generation technologies, and we've now run out of runway. And I don't know how long I've been saying this is happening, and that's where the real trouble lies. And the problem is that NERSA actually reports to the Department of, to the Ministry of Minerals and Energy. And it's really in that ministry that the root problem lies. There's a disconnect. Eskom are not responsible for saying what new has to be built. They are responsible for trying to keep the old running, and they've shown to everyone quite conclusively that it's actually not possible.
So, as I understand it, the current fix, I say that because we've had fixes in the past, is that after a meeting with the Public Enterprises Ministry last night and the National Treasury and the chair of the board of Eskom, now the National Treasury, I presume, will make more money available for Eskom to buy diesel. But that can't go on forever either. I mean, if we go on like this, we're going to bankrupt the country.
Yeah, look, it's a stopgap measure, obviously. I'll say obviously. People still speak about putting in more open cycle gas facilities, and I don't see the point of putting in more facilities if we can't afford to run the ones we've got. So it boils down to we need, as we always have, we need time and will to put in the necessary replacement. And we've run out of time now. So we are in a crisis. It's not as if we can say, well, we skipped this one. We're deep in a crisis. And every hour that ticks by that we don't build new wind, solar and storage, as if our very lives and livelihoods depended on it, is another hour lost, I'm afraid.
What happens next, Clyde? It just gets worse from here. Stage 8.
Well, it was quite interesting. One of the really interesting things that's cropped up is that Eskom intend doing the life extension of Koeberg in about, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks' time. They're going to flick the switch on one of the units at Koeberg. Now, I don't believe that it makes economic sense to extend the life of Koeberg, but it's not for me to say anymore. If we were extending the life of Koeberg and we had no load shedding, then it would cost whatever Koeberg costs to be refurbished. But given that we're deep in load shedding now, when we flick the switch to do the refurbishment of Koeberg, we're actually committing the country to an additional, now wait for this, an additional 600 billion rands worth of loss to the economy by switching off a unit at Koeberg at a time when we know it's going to add a stage of load shedding.
Sure. Clyde Mallinson, thank you, energy expert. Very sobering message.